So we finally have the comparison we were aiming to do all along when we had the Hyundai Palisade for our long-term test. And that's the brand new 2020 Ford Explorer.
What we've got here is the top trims in both models. We've got the Platinum in the Explorer and the Ultimate in the Palisade, which is a return to the car that we've got a lot of experience with here at driving.ca.
We got a lot of features and both offer different types of value. So we're going to check them out and see really how they compare, because they measure very closely in a lot of respects.
On paper they do, but they're different in a lot of ways in real life, so we should have a closer look. Let's have a look at the Palisade first and return to where we started.
We are used to have that. So, okay, let's go.
So here we are again in our friend the Hyundai Palisade.
It's nice to be back in the Palisade, I gotta admit.
So we've got that 3.8 liter V6 in this with 291 horsepower, 262 pound-feet of torque with that same 8-speed automatic transmission.
The 8-speed transmission is really smooth and it works really well together with this engine. It's not overwhelming power, but it's just right. The suspension is also very smooth. It just does a good job of soaking up bumps and smoothing out the ride. It rides really smooth on the highway. Again, not so quiet, but now against a competitor like the Explorer, we see it's about right for the segment. It's nothing out of the normal.
Yeah, I think that that's one thing that definitely, if they're looking for ways to improve this in the future, that's something that they could look at for sure. I mean, sitting back down in the Palisade again, we're reminded of the fact that actually it's pretty good on interior space, certainly for, you know, most things on the market, but even within his segment, it's nice and comfortable. The seating is comfortable and spacious, lots of legroom in all 3 rows.
And the Explorer has always been one of the bigger in the mid-size segment, and it's got over 500 liters of space in the trunk, even with all 3 rows up. And the Palisade almost matches that to within, 20 or so liters in the trunk. And you fold the 3rd row down, and again, they're still very close, just a few liters apart. It's probably something you won't even notice if you're loading it up and you got your hockey bags and your other stuff. Now, how about we talk about our screens and our technology in this car?
I gotta let you go on the screen rant, because you're the one that's really feeling very passionate about this. I don't mind the screen in the Explorer, the upright, but your point is a good one.
I just find that the screen in the Palisade is superior. It's horizontally laid out, which suits how Apple CarPlay is set up. And the Palisade also makes great use of it with the backup camera. So you've got a nice wide angle when you're backing up, plus you've got the 360-degree overhead view, and everything is sharp and clear so long as the cameras are clean. You don't have the twin preview of CarPlay and some of the native systems information if you're listening to radio, but you can still control that through the steering wheel. So it gives you the entertainment without taking away from the driving task that you should be focused on.
Hyundai has this new safety system that shows you the camera view of the blind spots when you turn on your signals, change lanes. And the nice thing about it is not only that it's there, but also that it's in the instrument cluster, in the fully digital instrument cluster, which makes it so that if you want to use it, it's there. If you don't, it's not too intrusive, which I really quite like.
Yeah, I was a big fan always of the head-up display. That's the feature that I found most useful for presenting information at a glance. And the features don't end there. There's just so many good little features that you discover, like little slots for the seatbelt buckles to tuck in when you've dropped the seats down. And they've really thought this through right down to the details.
Heated and ventilated seats in the 2nd row, both. Yeah. The USB ports in the 3rd row, because you always get stuck in the 3rd row. The kids who want to use the iPads, right?
Yeah,
so somewhere
absolutely.
to charge those is a pretty big deal in this day and age. And all that turns into a pretty good value proposition when you realize that the top trim in the Palisade here is $53,999.
That's an amazing price for everything you're getting in here.
Pretty much.
All right, so we've hopped into the Ford Explorer. Now this is the all-new 2020 Ford Explorer. And as mentioned, this is a comparison we always wanted to set up because, the Explorer is dominant in this segment. It's a very popular car, and they've packed a heck of a lot of engine into it. It's a 3-liter twin-turbo V6, and it's got 365 horsepower and 380 pound-feet of torque. It can really go. And it's paired up with a 10-speed automatic transmission that you're seeing everywhere in Fords and like their F-150 trucks and different crossovers and whatnot.
Which proves it's got towing chops.
Yeah, and it's got a tow haul mode, so I think you can trust it with the towing. It's got a slightly higher tow rating of like about 2,500 kilos. And generally, you know, with the brand, you know, they've been doing a lot of towing for a lot of years, so that's something you would expect that they've been able to test and do right. But I wasn't impressed with the automatic transmission's like refinement. It seemed like it was a bit jerky getting up to speeds, and so that was a little bit unpleasant and disappointing because I would have figured they'd fix the refinement a little bit better.
It also doesn't go very well with the steering, which I find is pretty stiff, but not in a good way. Like, it feels heavy to haul back and forth. It really stays true to its roots in terms of the sort of truck-like feel, but it doesn't translate over to the handling, because the handling is actually extremely good. There's near zero body roll. It really recovers well from uneven pavement. There's not a lot of bounce. I find that it's a very comfortable, very smooth ride.
Yeah, and the other thing that it stays true to is its practicality that is always delivered, and it's really spacious. The front seats are nice. There's plenty of headroom. The second row also. This one is a bench seat, not captain's chairs like the Palisade. They're very comfortable for second row seats that aren't captain's chairs, so I really enjoyed that. As we mentioned though, cargo space is great for both of these. I don't think we need to rehash that. But now we're getting into, you know what, the technology that we've gotten here up in the front, and that's probably my biggest complaint. I don't mind that it's displayed prominently like a tablet. I think that's kind of cool. However, I mind their use of space. It's like they didn't have the ability to redesign Sync to fit with this vertical format, because you're still boxing in the map on only half the space when you've got that home screen view.
But I actually really like having Android Auto on the top half of the screen and being able to independently control the in-car audio on the bottom. I understand though that you make a good point with the backup camera not expanding to full screen when it's enabled, because it could provide a much better view if it was more centered on the overhead view of the car.
Yeah, when you use the backup camera in this one, the size of the rear view it's just a missed opportunity. It's something that I would have liked to have seen Ford do better with the introduction of this new interior that looks pretty nice, but it's a little bleak, and there's some fails in terms of the fit and finish.
We do have the heated and ventilated front seats in this vehicle. As we mentioned, no ventilated second row seats as there are in the Palisade, no USB ports in the third row, which in this day and age is a bit of a fail. But the convenience features are something that stood out to you.
Yeah, the driver assist features, I mean, it's got all of those. It's got lane keep assist and adaptive cruise and blind spot and rear cross traffic alert. Both of the vehicles have all of that. But what I noticed is driving on the highway when I was actually using the adaptive cruise is that it was incredibly subtle and smooth at adapting to traffic coming in front of the vehicle, which I found a lot of vehicles, they'll tap on the brakes a little bit all of a sudden when a vehicle merges in front of you. But this one seemed to really smoothly just kind of like just lay off the throttle and let it back up and build space naturally, as you might do. The sport mode, it's quite aggressive, so it really does the job. If you're looking to drive quicker and have a little bit of fun, it really it does. It's because the steering's naturally a bit tighter and the suspension's a bit stiffer, and then you tap into a bit more immediate power. That part is well executed, but it's just eye-watering to look at to see that this car comes close to 70,000. I think it's about 67,000 prior to adding freight and PDI. So that is something where it's like, that could be a hard pill to swallow for a family shopping for something that's practical and affordable. So you might have to look for the different trims to find the value in the Explorer lineup. So what do you think? Do you think you got your winner?
I think so.
All right, let's go talk it over.
All right.
So now that we drove them for a bit, we picked them apart and the details and seeing how they're different. What'd you think?
Well, we were starting to talk about value at the end of our last piece with the Explorer there, and one thing that we have to look at is the fact that the Explorer is more expensive just on the price sheet, but it's also going to be more expensive in fuel.
You pay the price for that performance, and that's kind of what the Explorer has an edge in, a bit of that performance. It's got a stronger engine, and it's got, you know what, it's got a more sporty driving experience, and also it's like I'd give it the edge for the towing based on the experience that Ford has in that arena for, you know what, countless years.
But if you're looking just at these two cars that we've got behind us right here, I think we both agree you got to go again with the Palisade.
Yeah, for just your average family vehicle as a 3-row crossover, the Palisade really does it all so well at an amazing value. That's what we're seeing here when we line these two up next to each other and look at their prices, right?
Well, I think that settles it. We've got a winner again in the Hyundai Palisade.
Yep, it's unanimous again, and the Palisade's just that good. It's hard to resist. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. For Driving.ca, I'm Jonathan Yarconi.
And I'm Stephanie Wallcraft.